Well, hey folks, real honest, stupid Joe Ritlin. I'm Joe Ritlin. This is my review and a 25-year reflection on the April 1993 episodes of Monday Night Raw. I am getting this out a little bit later than the January, February, and March editions that I did, simply because I got so overwhelmed with all the work I was doing and all the reviewing I was doing, especially for WrestleMania week, that I just didn't have time to do this. So I decided to sit down and watch them today. Pretty easy to do. The nice thing about it is if I've seen a match before, I can actually skip past it if I don't feel like watching it. So these were easy to get through, and there were a lot of recaps, and there was a lot of, like interviews you don't necessarily need to care about. So really, these April episodes are probably the weakest. Of course, it's coming off of WrestleMania 9, and WrestleMania 9 was shit. Pretty much the worst WrestleMania of all time. Arguably the worst WrestleMania of all time for some people, but to me, the worst ever. Now, so here we go. We start with the April 5th, 1993 edition, where you had Vince and Randy Savage on commentary. Fortunately, I think Rob Bartlett was starting to be phased out of commentary. He was on a couple episodes, but by the end, they replaced him with somebody much better. You had Virgil versus Bam Bam Bigelow. I think you had Virgil sucks chants because New York's a passionate crowd. You did have some people chanting, cheering for Virgil. This match went on way too long. This took up like a fifth of the show. And think about it, Raw at this time was only an hour long. So 45, 46 minutes with commercials if there was any kind of overrun. Nearly about a fifth of the show, nearly a quarter of the show was taken up by this match. That's fucking ridiculous. I mean, I'm sorry. It's like nothing against Virgil necessarily as a performer. He wasn't very good in the ring and he wasn't very good on promos, but Bam Bam should have beat him in 3 minutes. There's no reason why Virgil in 93, this is in 91 when he was sort of over, should have gotten in that much offense on Bam Bam. Oh well, whatever. And so Bam Bam won, obviously. And then Lawler got upset at the crowd because he didn't want to wrestle unless they paid him respect. He did this twice in the show and then would end up wrestling later. But then you had Bob Backlund versus Kim Chi, Kamala's former handler. What? I mean, Bob Backlund won easily. Didn't really care. No big deal. Damien Demento versus Jim Brunzell. Poor Jim Brunzell. Jim Brunzell lost. Jim Brunzell by this point I think was near retirement anyway. I think he would appear on the Slamboree 93 pay-per-view, if I remember right, or I know Nick Bockwinkel did. Maybe I'm just confusing and lumping a whole bunch of AWA guys in there. Yeah, Damien Demento won, whatever. Lawler again refuses to wrestle. Then you had the Beverly Brothers versus the Steiner Brothers. Finally, a good match. Sweet Jesus, this is long overdue. It wasn't the best match they had. It was not the match they had at the Royal Rumble 93, which was a really good opener. And the Beverly Brothers are a really underrated tag team. Mike Enos, of course, pretty underrated worker. It was good. It was good stuff. Steiner Brothers won. Obviously, there was no doubt the Steiner Brothers were going to win here. The Beverly Brothers were pretty much there for the couple of years they were there to just put people over, and to have some good undercard feuds. And this is a pretty good feud. And I mean, the Steiners always had some really good matches. Steiners win, cool. Jerry Lawler wasn't going to wrestle again, and then Jim Powers comes out and beats him up, and yeah, Lawler wins. Okay, whatever. I mean, Jim Powers got in some offense. He would go to WCW soon after this and be a perennial jobber that lasted for a few years and get very, very minor pushes. His former tag team partner, Paul Roma, actually did a lot better in WCW, and that's not a knock on Roma. I mean, Roma was really good in tag teams and is not the worst Four Horsemen member ever. People need to stop saying that about Paul Roma. Mongo McMichael is the worst addition to the Four Horsemen. Seriously. He was the worst addition. He was the worst wrestler, worst promo. I mean, come on. Roma was not... Did he fit in with the Horsemen? No, but come on, guys. Let's not act like Roma's the worst in the world. He's not. Let's stop that. Seem to be building to Jerry Lawler versus Randy Savage and a possible future feud. Ironic considering both at one point were, Jerry Lawler was, Jerry the King Lawler. Macho Man Randy Savage was Macho King Randy Savage. Macho Man Randy Savage, even as the King or not the King, was better than Lawler could ever be in the ring. Sorry, I'm not the biggest fan of Jerry Lawler in the ring. I didn't grow up on the Memphis wrestling. I get people that did. If they really enjoy Jerry Lawler in the ring, great. I certainly understand why Lawler is seen as a big superstar. I just never got it. I never got it, but I also didn't grow up on Memphis wrestling. So I respect anybody that does. and anybody that likes Jerry Lawler. To me, he's a better commentator than he was a wrestler. But he does move a whole lot better than a lot of people in their 60s because he was able to take the proper bumps and take care of his body. Not a very good episode of Monday Night Raw, but the tag match was pretty good. And then we move on to April 12th edition. Vince, Randy Savage, and Rob Bartlett in Poughkeepsie. They were in Poughkeepsie for this and the following week's episode. You had Money Inc. and the Beverly Brothers talking, and Beverly Brothers like, watch out for Scott Steiner's Frankensteiner, watch out for the Steiner suplex, and you watch out for all this shit you could easily watch on film. You know, they have tapes and everything. Yes, VHS tapes. Prehistoric bullshit, I know. I remember dealing with that stuff and taping episodes of Raw on VHS and had a ton of them, and had I had a VCR and had I kept the tapes, I probably would still be watching those even today to see what they added out on this stuff besides just commercials. Scott Steiner versus IRS, decent. Actually went a really good while. Both are really good amateur wrestlers. A lot of people forget that IRS, Mike Rotunda, was a really, really good amateur wrestler and actually had a really good run in the NWA when he was before he was part of the Varsity Club, and then in general, he also had a run in WWE when he teamed with Barry Windham as the U.S. Express. They were, Rotunda's a really good performer. A lot of people forget that. I would put him in the Hall of Fame simply for his run. I mean, I don't know. He was more of a mid-card guy than anything else, but if you're going to put Coco Beware and other ones in there, why not put IRS in the Hall of Fame? Mike Rotunda, you should. Him, Rick Martel, it wouldn't hurt. Vader should go in before them, because Vader, with his health scares, and I'm sorry, Vader being a bigger star than both of them, all due respect to those guys, I would put Vader in the Hall of Fame, especially for health reasons, but I think those three guys should go in at some point. They're going to run out of guys to put in without saying, okay, hey, let's give a 10-minute slot, 10 to 15 minute speech, that's it. We don't need a Hillbilly Jim-like thing. We need just these guys to say their piece on their career and then head out, but get their proper stage. Good enough match. Teddy DiBiase causing a DQ because he was at ringside. Beverly's come down and helped Money Inc. beat up Steiner's, but a miscue causes Beverly's and Money Inc. to start feuding, which would lead later to stuff in the show and towards the end. Then you had Tatanka versus Von Cruz. Von Cruz. I don't know. He was supposed to be some bald German guy that I guess was supposed to look like Max von Sydow. The Shadow of Vampire guy, Nosferatu. It was a squash. Doink was at ringside spraying the crowd. No, that's not a euphemism. He actually was spraying people with his umbrella. It's kind of gross. Matt Bourne really was great as Doink. Bartlett interviews Luna and Sherry, and then they proceed to have words and then brawl for quite a while. And this is actually pretty cool. Luna's voice still hurts my ears even hearing it now. But hey, she was a Vashon. She was legit tough. She was tougher than a lot of the guys, that she was at ringside with. And that's nothing against the guys that she, managed or was around. But they brawled for a while or whatever. Luna got carried out by Slaughter and then came back and attacked Sherry. And you had a whole bunch of good stuff going. This would lead. I think Sherry was gone from the company after just a couple months, though. I don't remember what the reason was, if it was a contract thing or whatever, but she was gone soon after this. I don't even think they ever had a match on Raw. They might have had matches on house shows. Then Papa Shango defeated Scott Taylor, the future Sky Too Hottie. Then Friar Ferguson defeated some jobber. Sorry, I didn't catch the guy's name. Didn't really care. And then, of course, Friar Ferguson would later become Bastion Booger because that was a much better gimmick. The Friar Ferguson gimmick actually probably would have been better because at least his physique was covered up. Sorry, I hate to speak ill of people like that, but it would have kept him covered up. The Beverlys attacked Money Inc. during an interview to close the show. Okay, not horrible. The opening match is pretty good. Then you had the April 19th edition. Vince Savage and Bartlett on commentary again. Razor Ramon versus Virgil. Again, way too long. Razor would win. Just, again, Virgil shouldn't have been getting in this much offense. It should have been a 5-minute match. And it felt like it was, I think it was about 7 or 8, or at least it felt like that. Just way too long. Virgil got in way too much offense. Giant Gonzalez defeated L.A. Gore. I heard the name before. I don't remember who the guy was. He looked sort of familiar. Maybe he was a jobber somewhere else. I don't know. Journeyman. Giant Gonzalez wins, whatever. Sorry. Giant Gonzalez, I'm sure, was a nice guy, but God, he was a shit wrestler in the ring. Tatanka defeated Mark Thomas in a squash. Beverly Brothers versus Money Inc. Really good match. Really good tag team wrestling. Money Inc. would get the win. After a good 10 minutes, I think it was a good 9 to 10 minute match. I don't think this was the end of the feud. I think they would feud a little bit on house shows and stuff like that, but I don't think they ever got a proper pay-per-view match. So I don't know if the Beverly Brothers were around much after this. I think they were around to Survivor Series 93, and that's it. I don't know. Maybe I'm losing track. It's hard to kind of keep track of a lot of these talents in the 90s. A lot of people would just come and go. Not a bad match though. Certainly well done. And then you had a Brett interview. He talks about his losses. People are writing him off, but he's going to come back stronger and focus on Lex Luger, saying Lex Luger attacked me right before WrestleMania 9 at the WrestleMania brunch, luncheon, whatever it is, and I'm going to get my revenge on him. Brett, even now, could cut a better promo than Luger ever could in his career. I mean, seriously, Luger was just absolute ass on promos. Thankfully, Luger was not on this. He was on the next show. Bam Bam Bigelow defeated Phil Apollo. Whatever. Okay. Phil Apollo got way too much offense. I think he was either told to do that or he was trying to go into business for himself. It was one of the two, but that guy should have not gotten in that much offense on Bam Bam. Whatever. Doink sprays some fans at ringside. Funny that he did this during Bam Bam's match and they would be feuding about a year later. And then Friar Ferguson stopped Bam Bam, and it seemed like we were going to have a feud. And I think they dropped the Friar Ferguson gimmick soon after this. I haven't watched the May episodes yet, so maybe they have some of these angles blended together a little bit for me. And I will actually probably be watching the May episodes very soon and reviewing those. And I might even just get some in the can and just get all the way to the August episodes and just upload those in subsequent months just while I have time. We'll see. Not a bad episode, but not a great episode. It's kind of messy. And then you had the April 26th edition, where Vince, Randy Savage, and Bobby Heenan back on commentary said instantly made this show a whole bunch better. Damien Demento versus Mr. Perfect. Mr. Perfect beat him. Damien Demento wasn't any good in the ring. Sorry, he wasn't. He just wasn't. Memorable character for all the wrong reasons. Just my opinion. Some kid who had an anti-drug PSA. Which was nice. It was cool. Jasmine McNeil, I think was the kid's name. Hopefully she's grown up and done some great things in her life. I don't know, but I'm not going to knock the kid here. I mean, it was an odd placement that WWE was doing this anti-drug stuff, yet you could tell that some guys were still on something. Oh, people are noticeably smaller. And then you got Lex. Sorry, I mean, Lex was on something at that point. Speaking of Lex, Narcissist Lex Luger versus Crush, it was okay. When Crush was on the offense, it was fine. When Lex was on the offense, the guy couldn't sell. The guy couldn't really throw a good knee. He almost fell over trying to do a running knee strike. Lex just wasn't any good. And at one point, Crush has the Kona, the Kona Crush, the head crush. He's got Lex down. Looks like he's gonna, win. And then in the Manhattan Center, they got the balcony seats and stuff like that. Well, balcony seats. They don't have them uneven. That would be kind of stupid architecture. Though, given how New York is, sometimes I wonder about that. You got one Doink on one side. He's distracting Crush, and he's like pointing, wait, look. And then there's another Doink over there. You had Matt Bourne, and I don't know who the other Doink was. Maybe Steve Lombardi, the Brooklyn Brawler. I'm not really sure. Could have been him. Not knocking. There were a lot of guys played Doink. But they had that, and that got the distraction where Crush got hit with the loaded forearm, and Lex Luger fell to the Lex Luger, knocked Crush to the outside. Lex Luger could have fallen to the outside without clumsy his ass is, but Crush got counted out. Okay, cool, whatever. Of course, during the time where they first show the first Doink, and then he points, and they point to the second Doink. This is like there's two Doinks, and Bobby Heenan, same guy, split personality. Bobby Heenan was a national treasure on commentary. He just was. He was. He kept picking on this one couple. I guess this one couple like near ringside that was going to. The guy was going to propose to her, to his girlfriend at the time. It's so ridiculous. Because they both had glasses. I mean, I don't remember the people's names. I don't really care, but they both had glasses. And one guy had a beard, and the woman obviously didn't. Though not judging, you can have that if you want. But he said, He said they showed the guy, yeah, that's her, and then the girl, that's him, or one or the other way around. I don't really care. But Bobby was picking on them throughout the night, and then did the whole ceremony thing where it's like, hey, you're gonna propose to her. Okay, you want to ask her that? Go ahead and ask her that. If it was actually legit and they were a couple, that's really cool, and I hope they're happy together. I don't know if it was legit or not. I don't really care. So Mr. Hughes versus some jobber, squash, quick squash. Mr. Hughes really wasn't that good in the ring, and really wasn't that good even then. Heenan is, of course, during this match is flipping channels. He's got two TVs stacked on top of each other, which is almost what I did while the Monday Night Wars were going on. Smoking Guns vignette, where Billy talked about him and his partner have been riding together for a while. I mean, there's no way that Vince did not write that line with the intention of making that joke. There's no way. It was very Cactus heavy. I mean, the Smoking Guns were actually a hell of a tag team. Damn shame that really about the best they got was a couple tag title reigns. I think they got one or two. I think they got one or two. They got two, I think. But no, they were a good team. I mean, the gimmick was DOA, but they were good. They were a good team, and they wrestled in jeans and somehow managed to pull off those moves. So that's pretty damn good. Shawn Michaels interview. I think the crowd was chanting "Shawn is gay" during this, and it was kind of ridiculous. But New York crowds, that's what they do. Mr. Perfect chases him off after that. It was kind of Shawn's way of saying, okay, I beat Tatanka, who's next? I'm going to beat Mr. Perfect. He's not perfect. I'll beat Hacksaw Jim Duggan next week, which is the match that's going to happen on the episode after this one. Not bad. It was a good way to build a couple feuds. Bam Bam Bigelow attacks Tatanka backstage because at a previous house show, Bam Bam was talking down to and kind of forcing Sherry to the ground, and Tatanka chased him off. I thought Tatanka and Bam Bam had a pretty good feud. Damn shame Sherry was made to look so weak, though, at that point, because Sherry was legit tough. A damn shame that she's gone. Of course, then they show something happening. Tatanka was supposed to wrestle, and then Bam Bam's backstage attacks him and then gets scissors and starts cutting Tatanka's hair. Is not the worst incident in 1993 that in wrestling that involves scissors. Poor Sid Vicious and poor Arn Anderson. Probably more poor Arn Anderson, given what you could hear about the whole thing. You're never going to know exactly what the whole thing is. There's Arn's side, Sid's side, Witness's side, and the truth. That's 4 different possibilities. That's a lot. But at least only hair was cut and not human flesh in this case. Typhoon versus Von Kruss. Typhoon beat him easily. And soon after this, about 4 months after this, Typhoon would shock the world. The Shockmaster. That's what I mean. Jim Duggan was on the phone during this, hyping up his match with Shawn Michaels, and that sums up the whole damn thing. Not a bad episode. At least it started to get a little better. Heenan being on commentary added so much to it. Like, really, Bobby Heenan could add a ton to it. Like, Bartlett wasn't a terrible person, I don't think. He just wasn't any good on commentary. So anyway, that's what I gotta say. What do you guys think? What do you guys think of these reflection shows I'm doing for the Raw episodes? You like them? You want me to do ones about SmackDown coming up at any point? Let me know in the comments. Like, share, subscribe also. It's been Real Honesty with John Ritlin. I'm John Ritlin. I will see you soon.